What's up guys, this is Aaron from Gear Up and welcome to another episode. Now, a few weeks ago we talked about the Motorola G Power, which I really liked. And we also talked about how the mid-range phone category in general is exploding this year because the manufacturers have listened to us. We've told them we're tired of paying thousands of dollars for flagship phones that we really don't need most of the time. So the mid-range category is glutting, guys. There's tons of features, tons of options out there, and this is what I'm here for, hopefully, to help you navigate and find what you need. Now, we started with the G7 Power, great battery life, great value for money. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Samsung A51. And today, we're going to talk about this guy, the Moto G Power, the latest hotly anticipated item. Is this really a successor to the G7 Power, or is this just incrementally improved? Let's talk about this more after these messages. But TLDR, this should definitely be at the top of your list. Let's do it. Alright guys, here is the much anticipated Moto G Power, and we'll take a closer look at this right now because honestly for $250 you are getting a lot of kit for the money. So in the US it's only available in one color called Smoke Black. In the background running the whole show is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 octa-core chip. It's mid-range and it's a little bit long in the tooth because it came out last year, but it is plenty snappy in this application. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage, a little bit mid-range right there. Across the screen here is 6.4 inches, 1080 by 2300 pixels, which is plenty impressive. It's an 18:9 aspect ratio with about 399 ppi, which is not bad at all. A little bit under the Samsung A51 that I tested in terms of density, but it is still plenty sharp. One big thing that gives the G Power its name literally is its humongous 5000 milliamp hour battery in this thing. It's an endurance monster, guys. It's like a marathon runner, and we'll talk about that later on. Okay, here is the back of the phone, and if you're looking for wireless Qi charging, you have to look somewhere else because this is all plastic business back here. It does have a slight metallic look to it though, but it's not as dramatic or as good looking as the Samsung A51, but it is there. Now, it's not a fingerprint or smudge magnet, which is really nice because considering this is glossy plastic, it doesn't smudge really easily, so that's good, and it's easy to clean as well and not slippery at all too, so win-win. Now, it does scratch pretty easily though. I've had this for a week and already there I can see some really minute nicks here and there. Over here is the Motorola logo, which doubles as your fingerprint sensor, and it's pretty fast for a mid-range phone. Not bad right there. And up here, as you can see, is the camera array. Definitely different from the G7, which was centrally mounted, which I prefer. I'm not sure why cameras have to be in the corner. They're harder to aim and just frame your shot. But up here is the primary 16 megapixel f1.7, and down here is the ultra wide angle 8 megapixel f2.2. It covers around 118 degrees field of vision. Now down here is a really puny 2 megapixel macro lens f2.2, and here's a pretty good flash right here. Now after this I'm gonna do a flashlight test because most of us really at the end of the day, besides taking pictures, we use it as our flashlight, and I want to compare this with my Pixel to see how well it does. Now looking side on the right side of the phone, you see that the camera bump protrudes about 1mm away from the body, and if you think if I lay it flat on the table it's going to wobble much, you are right, but actually not as bad as it could be because thanks to the curvature of the back and the location of the module in the far corner here, it's actually pretty minimized, so that's nice I guess. Now over here is also the volume toggle switch and the power button, which is textured. I wish they're more prominent though, or more distinguishable, because when I blindly try to look for them, they are hard to tell apart sometimes. Now over on the left side is the SIM card tray, which is shared with the micro USB card slot as well. Only one SIM card is allowed here, unlike the Samsung A51, which you can insert two. Over the top here is one lonely microphone port, and down here is the second one right next to the USB-C charging port and a 3.5mm headphone jack. There's one downward firing speaker down here, which is easily blocked by your palm or your finger, which I do not like. And up here is another part of the speaker here, which is nice. It's stereo, but it's a weird orientation. And back behind the glass here is a light sensor. I doubt you can see it, but you can if you look closely, it's there. And over here is the front camera. It's a 16 megapixel f2.0, and it does capture slow-mo as well, up to 120 frames per second. This is the only camera in the whole package that does that. And speaking of the camera, I forgot to mention that these guys, the main camera captures 4K 30 frames per second. It does not have optical image stabilization though. It all relies on gyro and EIS. But that also has a caveat. You can only use that at 1080p 30 frames per second. So, you know, for what it's worth, that's not too hot. So if you haven't heard over the grapevine, I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers and only you can get me there. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing down below by mashing the button and turning on the bell notification icon. Thank you for your help in advance. Back to the program. Alright guys, here are some of my favorite bits of the G Power. Now, if you're tired of charging your phone every day or day and a half, or if you walk around with phone battery anxiety or something, which you should definitely get therapy for, this is the phone to rely on. It's not called Power for nothing. Motorola, in fact, touts this as a 3-day phone. But in my real world practice, it's more like 2.5 days. But dude, you'd be crazy not to consider a phone like this that has 2.5 days stamina. And speaking of stamina, I also did a video test where I looped a YouTube video, maximum brightness, maximum volume, and get this, it ran for, and hold on to your pants, 25 hours straight, and it still had 5% battery left. That's stamina for you. One area that the G7 Power from last year kind of lagged behind was in the camera department. Sure, it took pretty decent pictures, but it only had one lens, so it kind of automatically aged itself there. Now, the G Power on the other hand is definitely up to speed. It has 3 lenses, one primary, one ultra wide, and one macro. I want to talk about the main lens though, because that's where it's at. It is really good. I'm not sure what Motorola's optics team has been doing, but they're blowing things out of water in bright daylight and good lighting. It kind of sort of beats in certain areas my Pixel 2 XL. I am very surprised, yes. If you look at some of the samples, the pictures and the videos after this, you can compare it yourself, but look at the white balance and the color accuracy. The Motorola has, in some cases, has the Pixel beat, especially when it comes to food and such like that. I'm mind blown, guys, mind blown. Let's take a look at some samples. We'll start with the G Power, followed by my daily driver, a Pixel 2 XL. Now, the Motorola is using its default camera app, which is a lot of fun to use without being too cluttered. And the Pixel is running C-Stark's Gcam camera port, which incorporates much of the newer Pixel model's features and abilities. So this first shot was taken with the sun low in the sky at about 5:54 p.m. full auto, just point and shoot. Now, guys, feel free to pause anytime to scrutinize these pictures, okay? So here, the G Power bests the Pixel in color accuracy and white balance, capturing definitely the colors of the actual scene more accurately. But I have to say also though that the grass is, to use a highly technical term here, more mushed together, which means the Motorola is over sharpening in some of these areas. However, in the Pixel shot, you see that it brings out more detail in the shadows and accurately portrays the blueness of the sky. But one thing that Pixels have always done is to push more yellow into each shot, as you'll see in the following samples as well. So this close-up was not shot in macro mode because I figured it would be an unfair advantage to the G Power, being that the Pixel does not have a dedicated macro lens. So these photos were taken at midday, and again, the color accuracy and exposure is more spot on in the Moto than in the Pixel, which is still surprising to me. Once more, you can spot how much more yellow the Pixel has, especially on the tarmac surfaces. Okay, selfie time. And in case you're wondering, I turn off beautification mode on both cams because I can't stand those things. The Moto has more spherical lens that makes me look bloated, I think. But as it is then, the selfie award in this case belongs to the Pixel. Great detail and color and tonality, still one of the best out there. The story here is about the same in terms of color and white balance, with the advantage going to the Motorola. But here's a good time to point out how good Google's 2017 phone is in darker areas. In the far right corner of this photo, the G Power has way more noise, whereas the Pixel is tightly controlled. Speaking of dark areas, here's a nighttime shot taken at around 10:30 p.m. down our main road with an LED street lamp illuminating the road out of frame to the right. This one is the Motorola's, which tries hard with proper white balance but falls flat in every other metric here. The Pixel shot, while yellowed again, Has so much more detail from the crack down the middle of the road as you can see and into the distance. It's not even a contest. And in case you're wondering, this was without night sight on. This is with it on. Now, video samples, all taken in 4K 30 frames per second. The Moto has no optical image stabilization by the way, so there's more jitteriness. And for some reason, the color accuracy and white balance that was so good in the photo mode, in video mode is more hit or miss here. The grass and flowers are definitely oversaturated, and yes, the captured sound is also not as good as the pixels either, it sounds more hollow. Now back to our figurines. This scene challenges each camera's ability to discern and adjust to quick changes in light and dark areas while, hopefully rendering the right amount of reds and blues. The Moto again has proper white balance, but noise crops up in the darker areas. And is it me, or is the Motorola hunting quite a bit more than the Pixel? And here's one of my favorite Motorola camera modes, Cinematograph. It's so easy to create GIFs with this tool, guys. And yes, remember to thumbs up if you like this video. Don't thumbs down, even though I'm saying thumbs down there too. Now, for the past few years, Motorola has done a couple of things that I really enjoy and appreciate, and you probably already know what I'm talking about. The first one is their commitment to keeping a near stock Android experience each time. In this case, Android 10. And the other part is how lightly skinned their UI is. It's just so simple and not cluttered at all, even with their Moto actions, which who doesn't love the chop chop to turn on the flashlight and twist to activate the camera? Those are cool things and have set the standard since the beginning of time. I thank you Motorola for sticking with it, and I really appreciate what you do in this case. Yes, shameless plug. Now I have to say that this phone is very well optimized. When you combine that near stock Android experience, the light UI, the 4GB of RAM, and that snappy, speedy 665 Snapdragon chip, even though it's mid-range, this thing flies along. You can play mid-range games without a problem. You can switch between apps, you can surf, all without really a stutter. The only place where it slows down a little bit is when you push it, photo editing and such like that, but most people barely use those kind of things. So this mid-range phone with the mid-range chip, which is also battery sipping, is perfectly fine for most of us and most of our usages. The time I've used it, it barely stuttered, which is pretty darn amazing. I like it. Okay, let's move on to my favorite part, which is focusing on the negatives. Yes, now we're gonna talk smack about you. Now we all know that this has a 5000 milliamp hour battery, which makes it pretty unwieldy, bulky, and really heavy, and in fact very dangerous of a tool. The other day I was holding this and it accidentally dropped, because I'm not a klutz, from a 3-foot high distance, and it almost broke my toes. Here's a picture to prove it. It's all bruised and everything. And in fact, if I had dropped this from a 6-foot high distance, it would have severed my foot completely. So bear that in mind. If you own this, this could cut your head off. So if you recall me talking about the cameras earlier where I heaped praise at the front and rear main lenses, I didn't say anything about the ultra wide or the macro, and these two are the weakest link in my opinion. So you should pay attention to that. The ultra wide is not bad, mind you. It's very usable outdoors, in wide open spaces, in bright daylight it's perfectly fine. Indoors, low light situations, it's just a blurry mess. So that's the lesser of the evils. The worst offender of all though is the 2 megapixel macro. Who can print or share with that kind of resolution? So I think it's just a gimmick that a lot of mid-range phones are guilty of actually. A lot of them offer macro, but look at the megapixel count, it's kind of ridiculous. So just pay attention to that, it's a gimmick. Now, the next problem I've also talked about in the G7 Power review, which is Motorola has this weird, funky, unreliable update cycle. So you never know when you're gonna get a system UI update or a security fix on a monthly basis. Now, granted, I've seen Motorola trying hard in the past month or two to try to push a security fix out here and there for some of their phones and trying to get them up to speed on Android 10. But traditionally, they just haven't been doing that great. So bear in mind when you own this, you may or may not ever see Android 11 on the G Power. If you don't care about that, that's fine. If you don't care about security fixes and like to live dangerously, that's fine too. It's at your own risk. Now, it is so good that Motorola put so many features into this phone and made it such a good value for money. But with that comes cost cutting. And there are three areas where I really notice where it really stands out and it affects the build quality and aesthetics and just the look and feel of it. Now, the first one is the back cover. This is not going to fool anybody that this is not glass. The plastics is good. It doesn't scratch very easily. It's not really a fingerprint magnet, which is nice. But it's very wavy, especially around the camera array and the fingerprint sensor. And so it's not flat in certain lights. When I compare this with the Samsung A51, that thing was flat all the way back. They really know how to assemble a budget mid-range phone. So I would not say this is par for course because other phones can manage and Motorola can't, so they need to pay attention to this. Now, over in the front, Motorola says that this is like an edge-to-edge screen, but it's more like 1 to 2 millimeters away from the edge. But the transition is not very smooth either. It's a little bit rough here in the corner. If you run your fingers over it, it's not very rounded. So I don't like that part, but you know, it is a mid-range phone. The last kink in the quality issue is the screen itself. If, say, you happen to have an app or a wallpaper that's light or white in color in the background, you notice a lot of shadowing around the edges of the screen, especially and particularly bad around the camera ring. So I'm not sure if this is a manufacturing problem or poor low quality panels. So bear it in mind, it's just pretty prominent once you see it. You can't look away. So here are my final thoughts, guys. If you're in the market for a mid-range Android smartphone right now, definitely buy the G8 Power. Yes, that advice doesn't get any simpler than that. I give this a wholehearted thumbs up because for $250, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better package than this. The screen is amazing, the camera array is pretty impressive, and that beast mode alone of a battery life is just the talking point right there. It is a complete package. It is snappy, pretty snappy for a mid-range. If you can look past that iffy update cycle and the build quality, this is an amazing phone to own. So get out and get one for yourself right now. There's links down below if you want to try it out, or just go out there and find the best deal. This is amazing. Well, that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I hope you come back next Friday where we explore a couple of unnamed brand earbuds from China. So we'll see how that goes. That can go multiple ways. And if you haven't heard already, I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, and only you can get me there. Your support will help me bring you more content like this to watch, by the way. So mash and kill the button right now if you haven't already. So thank you in advance. And remember to thumbs up if you like this video also, yes. And comment down below, yes. And thumbs down. Thumbs down to the beaver that invaded my garage a few days ago. Yes, I'm talking to you, Mr. Beaver. It just won't leave my garage after a while. It totally outstayed its welcome, and I know I was just trying to get it out. So, you know, it's cute and all and everything. But the worst part of all is the beaver failed to inform me that it was actually a groundhog. So that was poor communication on your part, Mr. Beaver Groundhog. And my ability to tell the difference between animals. So a thumbs down to that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate y'all being here. Again, do something nice and do something loving for somebody out there. There's always someone in need. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and do your part in this whole COVID-19 thing craziness. Until next time, peace out, guys. Whoosh.